Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Indigo Dev, and this is episode 2 of my Roblox beginner scripting series. Today we're going to be covering the difference between Lua and Lua U. We're going to be covering how to create a script, what print statements are, and what comments are. Now, Lua U is actually a variation of a programming language called Lua. Note that Lua U was actually designed by Roblox themselves, specifically for the platform and the developers that make the games. Now, it's more of a performance-focused language, and it actually uses gradual type annotations, and the syntax is the same as the original. And it is meant to be backwards compatible with Lua. So you can write in Lua and transfer it over to Lua U, but it is not going to be working the same way if you try to do a Lua U script over to Lua. Normally when a scripter is creating their script, they're going to be placing it within server script service. What server script service is a special folder made specifically for holding your game's scripts. But for this series, we're just going to be creating our scripts within the workspace. There's not really much of a difference. It's just about organization and placing it in where it's meant to be, how it's commonly found. But for the sake of the tutorials, we're just going to be working with the workspace still. So let's go ahead and create our first ever script. We're going to go to workspace. We're going to press the plus button. We're going to find our script. Now there are a couple different types of scripts, but for the beginner tutorial series, we're just going to be discussing the script itself, the script type. So we're going to go ahead and open this up, and it's going to open up a brand new window, which is our script editor. And you'll notice a line of code here that we have within our script editor, and we'll go over that in a second. But first I want to discuss what is the script editor and what are scripts and code. Scripts is what gives your experience instructions on pretty much anything imaginable. So if I wanted to set my player's health to a specific amount, that would be what a script does. Now, the hello world that we're seeing here in front of us is a print statement. And when a script is actually tested, we will see hello world printed into our output window, if you recall that from episode 1. So before we create our own print statements, let's go ahead and run this script. And we're going to go to our testing controls, and we're going to go down and hit run. And before we hit run, if you haven't already, make sure to open your output window, which you can do by going to window and then selecting output if you have not opened it already. And like I said before, if you do have a couple lines already taking up your output, go ahead and clear it using the broom icon. Once it's been cleared, let's go ahead and hit play, and we're going to see that hello world is now being printed into our output. So let's go ahead and stop this. And if you stop your script, you'll notice that you're no longer in the script editor window. To get back to that, there is two ways. You can either go to the tab above the 3D viewport and hit your script, or you can go to the Explorer on the right again, and you can double tap to open your script from there. But normally doing the tabs up here is faster. So let's go ahead and we're going to rename our script just so we can be a bit organized. So let's click it. You can either click it once and it'll help you rename it, or you can hit F2. And we're just going to name this one print statements. Now, it's important to note that the naming convention for naming your scripts, there are no spaces, and you normally want to try to capitalize every other word. So notice how I capitalize the P and the S of print statements. So now let's go back to our script. We're going to hit Control plus A, and it's going to select all of our code. We're going to hit backspace to delete this print statement because we're going to actually be creating our own now. One piece of syntax for Lua that you need to know, and what is syntax? Well, syntax is the types of naming conventions that the engine uses to recognize specific functions. Print is syntax for a print function. So we're going to be typing out print, which starts out the print function, and we're going to be using a print statement. So we're going to put double parentheses, double quotations, and then we can type whatever we want within this quotation. So let's go ahead and we'll just type, hello there, welcome. Exclamation point. So now we have our print statement. We've typed out what we want to say in the output window. Let's go ahead and run that and see what happens. We have hello there, welcome, exclamation point. So there's our print statement. It has been put out into the output window for us to see. Now, there's actually more than one type of print. There is a warn and an error, respectively. These are mainly used to organize your code as warnings and flags. So if I wanted to say warn, double parentheses, double quotes, this is a warning, something is wrong, exclamation point. And then if I ran that, you'll notice that this is a warning, something's wrong. It is telling us, this is basically us saying to ourselves in the future that we can have this run at a specific point in our code if something has gone wrong and we know that it might go wrong. This is a good way to warn ourselves. And the error is basically the same thing as warn, but instead it just colors it red. So if we run that again, it's going to tell us that, hey, something's actually going severely wrong. We need to check what's going on. And it'll say basically something has gone wrong. It'll tell us exactly on what line that our error was written on, and we'll be able to find the issue more accurately because we ourselves wrote this error in preparation. All right, so let's hit Control A. We're going to delete. And before we actually try to type something out, it's important to note that when you are still running your game, as we probably are, because as we can see, if our red stop button is still available to us, that means the game has not ended yet. So if we need to end that to actually edit our code, or else it won't actually work. So now that we've stopped the simulation, and now we can delete our code, which we weren't able to before and it didn't save it. So make sure to always end your run, end your play testing if you're going to be making any adjustments to your code, or else it won't work. All right, and then we're just going to write one more print statement. So print, double parentheses, double quotations. We're going to say hello world, and we're going to go back to the basics. So it's important to note that anything within this quotations, you can write whatever you want, you can write it however you want, and you can write it as long as you want. It does not matter. Obviously, there's theoretically a limit, but that's with memory. But just write whatever you want. It is important to note that you have whatever within this line. All right, so now that we've covered print statements and print types, the last thing I wanted to discuss with you guys is what comments are and how comments are used within a script. So we're actually going to take this down one. So what we're going to do is make sure we're on the left side, and we're going to go down and hit Shift Enter to bring our line down by one. We're going to hit double hyphen. If you don't know where the hyphen key is, it's right next to your 0. Hit it twice, space it out, and then now we can write a comment. So we can say this is a comment. And if we run our script, you'll notice that it hasn't actually been put into the output window, because as we are putting in this comment, we are saying that everything past this double hyphen is not to be ran by the engine. The engine knows that this is a comment and not a line of code to be executed. Why would we actually use comments? What is the point of a comment? Well, a comment can actually be used for quite a lot of things. It's basically a sticky note in a sense. So if I wanted to say, hey, this script is used for printing hello world, then anyone that comes by that I may hire to work with me on my code, or I might simply forget what I had made a certain function for or a system for, I can now remember because I put this comment in the past and I can read up on it. There's actually more than one type of comment though, and we'll go over both of these. There's block comments and to-do comments, and they both pretty much still serve the same purpose. Block comments just let you write more lines of comments without having to double hyphen each and every single one. And to write these block comments, we'll do 2 hyphens followed by 2 brackets. And then everything written within these double brackets is going to be noted as a comment. So we can say, this is a comment. This is also a comment. This lets us write multiple lines of comments without having to mark every single one with our double hyphens. And this can save you some time if you're trying to write out a huge paragraph that's trying to explain what an entire script might do or what a function's purpose might be. This can help you. Now, the last thing that I wanted to discuss in terms of comments is a to-do comment. And this is basically, as the name implies, a to-do list. So if I do double hyphen followed by all caps to do, and then followed by a colon, everything that I put after that is going to be boldened out. So print hello world. And if I space it, then it means that the to do has been done. But if I don't space it, it's actually going to bolden the text. That lets us know that it has not been done yet. So if it is done, put a space, that's done. Without the space, it isn't done yet. For today's learning assessment, what I'd like you to do is create a short story using these print statements, and at the top of your script, place a comment explaining what the story means to you. So I'll go ahead and I'll give you a quick example. So double hyphen space, this is a story about coding. We'll go down, print, double parentheses, double quotes. Hey there, me. And then we don't have to just do one print statement, by the way, and make it as long as possible. It would actually be better for you to practice by doing multiple print statements because there is no limit on how many you can write. You can do 1,000 lines of print statements by hand if you really want to. But the overall goal is I just want you to tell a short story about something that might mean something to you or something you'd be interested in writing about, just to help you get practice on how print statements are written and how the code editor works as well. For today's learning challenge, I have something else in store for you if you're willing to do a bit more work to put the practice really in there. What I'd like you to do is actually write 100 lines of print statements. Now, this might seem mundane and it might seem pointless to some, but I will say, as someone who originally, when I first started, had a really hard time writing out anything in terms of scripts, this will help you because it'll not only make you faster on the keyboard as you get used to typing things out, it'll help you with writing print statements because it'll just become like it's almost like driving. The more you do it, the easier it's going to get. Now, the last thing I wanted to discuss before we end today's episode is what is Code Assist and how is Code Assist working? If you've noticed that before I've typed out some code, it seems to have been written out for me. This is Code Assist. It's going to try its best to write code for you. Now, I do recommend using this when you're already familiar with the topic that we've discussed, and it does save you a lot of time and it can help you as well. But if you over rely on it, it can sort of become a crutch because you're not really learning the concepts because it can help with quite a lot and it can type out quite a lot for you. So just try to make sure not to become overly reliant on it. But if you do want to use it, simply just hit tab to accept whatever Code Assist is trying to write you, and you can see that it's trying to write print hello world, so we'll just tab that out and it goes ahead and it writes it for us. That's basically what Code Assist's main job is. And the last thing I wanted to touch on real quick before we end is with your learning assessment, if you'd like to and you feel comfortable sharing with everyone, make sure to go down in the comments and show your work. Show what kind of print statements you made today for everyone else to look over and see. And if you have any questions, make sure to let me know. If you have any issues, let me know and I'll try to help you and work with you. And in the next episode, episode 3, we're going to be covering data types. But other than that, I hope you guys have learned something useful from this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.